All right, good morning, good afternoon, good night. My name is Odur Jagero and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Today we are going to be talking about toxic relationships. And it's a word that is thrown around a lot. You know, there's a gentleman who told me that, wachana na hao wasichana bwana. Ukisikia mtu anasema ati toxic relationship, I left that relationship because it was toxic is because pesa iliisha.
Wow.
You know? So, but today I am having a guest. Jacinta, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Jagero.
Let's talk about toxic relationships. I want to understand it so that and also help others understand what exactly a toxic relationship is, you know? So welcome. You are a relationship coach.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
And not just any relationship coach, but specifically toxic relationships.
Yes, and we are going to be talking about that. But we want to start with your story. I want you to tell our audience who you are. You're Jacinta. What's the second name and what's your story? Where did you grow up? Getting to a relationship that turned toxic? And then I'll ask questions along the way, and I think we'll go on very well.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jagero.
Yes.
Happy to be here with you this morning, having this very bold conversation, because I feel that it's something that is somehow not... People talk about it a lot, like you said, but they don't really even understand what they're talking about. And crazy enough, let me first of all start with my story.
Yeah.
I am Jacinta Wangeshi, so that says a lot about where I come from. I come from Odhaya, and I have people asking me, do I know Mwai Kibaki? Yes, I knew where he lived. 32 years old. I know many ladies don't say their age, but I just put it out there for any person who, this conversation as I'm going to talk about it, people feel like there are certain people who go into and get into toxic relationships, but I want to say this because it doesn't vary with age or even gender. So Jacinta Wangeshi is a 32-year-old mom of 3 kids. And yeah, she's a toxic relationship survivor. That's what I say, because that's who I am. And this is a conversation that I've been having lately with a lot of women. And the funny enough, it's women who are mostly in their late 30s, 40s, all the way to 50s. And Jacinta grew up, funny enough, in Nairobi, though she was born in Nyeri, but she grew up in Nairobi, in a place called Makadara, Team Maringo. I know people keep asking me, you look like the Westie girl. No. I'm from the hood. And I grew up from there. And probably that has also shaped a lot of who I am as a person. The resilience, because that's one thing that ladies from the hood, or ghetto as people say, I don't know, there's the aspect of maybe us being very ghetto, but there's also the aspect of resilience, because that's a huge thing that we learn right from our background.
What do you think is the difference between Lavington or Kitsuru and Madaraka? What's the difference? What is a ghetto woman, by the way?
According to what I have heard, I don't know, because, yeah, I am me. And though from there, from what I have heard is that a ghetto lady is mostly people will envision that lady who you talk some sort of way with them and they just smack your face, slap you, they don't take nonsense. They tell it as it is. I tell it as it is, but there is a way, not a crude way. And compared to the Lavington lady, they come across as very poised, very elegant. But I'm here to say that
they turn the other cheek.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, you can walk all over them, but you don't do that to a ghetto girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I found a way to incorporate both. Yeah, and I think even being where I am today, it has been what life gave me and what I could get for myself. Yeah.
So you are born in Nyeri.
Yes.
And then when you say you grew up in Nairobi, at what age did you come to Nairobi?
I think I was around 1 year old because I don't even remember myself in Nyeri. But I know that my parents moved to Nairobi. So I grew up in Nairobi. Yeah, I went to St. Michael's Primary School. It's in Makadara, Jogoo Road. That was the primary school that I went in. But high school, I went back to Nyeri as well. Yeah, that has basically been my growing up life. I think I had a pretty good childhood where we would...
Both parents?
My mom passed on sadly when I was 10 years old. But my dad remarried and I got a stepmom who is very sweet. She's very supportive. And I have some siblings, brothers. I'm the only girl. So, yeah, I just had to toughen up, and I'm the firstborn.
We are going to be talking about toxic relationships, but I want you to give me an idea of, did you have girl boyfriends when you're growing up in Makadara? How was that like? Do you remember those boys of years gone by, and probably the boys that we have right now, the boys your age? How was it like dating in Makadara?
The crazy thing is I never dated. The first person that I dated became my husband.
Wow.
Yeah, and my dad was very strict. In short, I will call him Hitler.
Yeah, why? Hitler killed people.
Yes, not killing people, but very strict. You had to be home. There were curfews. I could not go out. My life was basically home, school, church. I was I grew up more in the Catholic setup. In high school, I was the CHL lady. And even later after school, I would be a Sunday school teacher. Like, my life was just that. I was very calm, whatever he said, his word was low. Like, we will be playing with the other kids. You see him, home. No goodbyes, nothing. Because everyone knew. My mom, my dad, they were very tough people. And
if you did something wrong, what would they do? Were they disciplinary? They would cane you or what?
They were very strict disciplinarians. So and he would make it very clear. And the funny thing is, I think now looking back, it was called for because most of the ladies that I was in school with, they either ended up married or with kids even before we did the class 8 exams. And in my hood, we would also have drugs being sold, kids my age. Like I remember we had some classmates who would be into gangs. They would be robbing sometimes. So my dad really tried to make sure that we never strayed. Yeah, it was very tough.
And then, so you went to high school? Did you go to the university?
Before that happened, when I finished school, that's where the story starts. Actually, that's where now my story of who I became starts because I was 18, I'm done with high school. Crazy thing is, my dad congratulated me. And I remember at that time thinking, why? I have not even done something so huge. But now looking at the background, most of the girls that I was with were already having kids at their own home. I understand why. So here I am. I passed very well. I will not say my grades, but I did pass very well. I was very good in high school, very good in English. I would write, even in Form 2. My English teacher would read my compositions to the Form 4s. I was very good at writing and reading, and in English generally. So when I did my Form 4, something came up. I had a cousin in the US, and she told me, first of all, we were still trying to navigate. What do I want to do? I thought I wanted to be an air hostess. By then, I don't know why. Everyone thought air hostessing was the thing. I wanted to be on media.
It's flying in planes.
Absolutely.
It's a very boring experience.
I thought it was really good because I just wanted to go out there. I remember I really wanted to just be on the move. But my dad was like, that job really, the lifetime, they were like, do nursing. So I even applied to KMTC. And now, by the time I was getting my
so tell us about this man. How did you meet him?
I don't know whether I should actually talk so much about the man.
No, not his name. Yeah.
Okay, by then, generally meeting him, he was not even, he's not a man that I would call older than me by years. He was slightly older than me, maybe 4 years, 4 years only. And so he was a person that I thought we can start, by that time what you're looking for, and that is the thing. In your 20s, what you look for in a relationship is totally different from what in your 30s you're looking for in a relationship, in your 40s and onwards. By then, all you know in my teens, because I was still not even 20 yet, I just needed love. And remember, I'm coming from a very tough background where it's all about rules and laws, and you need to live this way. And my dad used to tell me, he even used to give me pocket money. He used to say specifically, Wangeshi, here's some money for you because I never want you to get involved with a man because of his money. But there's this notion of what is love, because the money that my dad will give me, I will use it on my then boyfriend, who turned out to become the man that I will be involved with.
What do you mean you're using the money? He was struggling.
He was struggling. He was this guy who was doing college, and he had this job. They were not getting paid because there were no sales. And he's naive Wangeshi who feels like it's love. I love him. So all the money, shika.
The very first man in your life. Maybe I think you are exactly. You don't know how this works, right?
You don't know. For you, it's love. It's what, and I loved telenovelas by then. So we think this is the happily ever after. I'm in love. This is it. Yeah.
What was the definition of love for you? I mean, what were you feeling towards this man?
Just the feeling that somebody really cares and that they're there for you. Just you specifically, your parent is obligated to love you.
But you see, that is where I find that's what I find difficult to understand. Mm-hmm. Your parents, as somebody who is growing up, mm-hmm. well, we later know in life that our parents are obligated to love us.
Yeah.
But we don't actually know that when we are still young. We come to get that realization when we are adults, mm-hmm. that, my parents are obligated to love me. Mm-hmm. But mm-hmm. what I don't understand is how we think that because you don't give your parents money, mm-hmm. but suddenly you're giving this man your money. Yeah. So what do you think is the difference between that let's call it sexual love and the it is familial love, the one that we
later on, like right now, and I even tell this to many women who come to me and they're like, oh, I think I ended up here because of what my mom did to me or my dad or how my childhood was. I tell them, stop looking at them from the perspective of your mom, your dad. Because when you look at them as mom and dad, then you feel like they're obligated to bring you up, right? They're obligated to give you all these things that normally a father or a mother should be giving to their kid. But then start looking at them like an example of my dad is Jagero. He's Jagero, a young man who saw his dad living in the city. They were living with the mom somewhere in the country, but the countryside, and he just saw his dad as somebody who brings in the beef. He comes in with the money. So even him growing up and having his family, he'll feel like providing is all a man should do. The mom is the one who was there, who is supportive and all that. So the minute that you start seeing them for who they are as people, trying to understand what they went through, that is now when you extend grace and compassion towards them. Mm. And then you learn that they only worked with what they had back then. The way my parents brought me up, they thought they were giving me the best that they could. Now me, because I know better, I know that my kids need emotional, mental, physical, whatever sort of attention. Yeah, so I know different. Mm. And then you will never do it right 100%. Even then they will still come up with something. They will get some trauma from me, one or the other. Yeah. Okay,
so so I want to talk about the pregnancy.
Yeah.
In Africa we say that we really don't get out of the way to go get pregnant. True. I don't think that my mother and father were looking for me. Mm-hmm. I think I was just a byproduct of pleasure.
Most of the time.
How was that? Did you guys agree that we are going to be having a kid?
No.
It was just.
I was 19. Mm-hmm. I was 19. Here I was, like I was saying, I had a cousin in the US and she was like, you know what, Jacinta, you can come over, do your medicine course over here in the US because it's more marketable. And I was excited. I was really happy. I thought this is it. This is what my life should be all about, because I had always felt limited because of where I'm coming from. But then I felt like the world was finally opening up to me. But then, and I was in this relationship for over a year now, and I had not gotten pregnant. But all of a sudden, I find myself pregnant. And by then, I did not have a choice. And that's the other thing. People make decisions because they feel like they don't have a choice. I did not have a choice. That's how I felt, because, like I said, I termed my dad as Hitler. He was not someone that I could approach and tell, hey, this and this is happening. How can we go about it? So
I don't know if you're okay talking about this, because I've always wanted, because basically if you get pregnant, then you had unprotected sex.
Definitely.
Obviously you are having a sexual relationship with this man, but were you aware that there is going to be pregnancy? Or what was as a young girl of 19 or 18 years old, did you know the repercussions of having unprotected sex then?
Oh yes, I think every time and this is not just for a young girl, it's for everyone, even people in marriages. Every time that you're having sex with someone, you know the outcome is either A or B.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I know that. But then, do you, as a 19-year-old, did you know that did you guys talk about protection during sex?
Yeah, we did. But then this is something that we thought we had mastered, because we are in this relationship for over an year, and you get to that point where you're very comfortable with each other. And so you know that he's got me because he understands me, so I also understand him. And remember, I was in love, so I'm just here for the pleasure. Kids are not anywhere on my mind. But then here comes one.
Okay, so I'll let you now go on with the story after. You were supposed to go to the US.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're pregnant. How does life begins to unfold?
It begins with me moving with my mom's handbag and a yellow paper bag. By then they had not been banned. That is how I moved. That is how I get married.
When you realized that you are...
I learned that I was pregnant on Sunday. I was married on Wednesday. Because I was crying, I was praying. I used to wake up, Adoration Chapel. Pray, test again, positive. Sleep, crying, not eat, wake up the next day, Adoration Chapel. Pray.
What
test,
were you praying
positive.
about?
Miracles.
So that it suddenly goes negative.
It becomes negative.
Do you think that's how faith works?
My dad's faith was that strong. I don't know whether it was strong that way or what it was.
Were you praying that God gives you an abortion or what?
I was like praying that I hope these 2 lines today, tomorrow I wake up and it's 1.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah. I think you are in a tight spot.
I was, definitely, because you cannot imagine being on top of the world and then you just see everything
So
crumbling.
suddenly there is no USA?
No.
Suddenly there is no going to that KMTC at your nursing school?
None. And he is a man. As much as I loved him, I had prepared myself psychologically to leave him. Because
why?
I was moving. So how would we have worked that out? I already knew at the end of this all, there was no future with him. Yeah.
What does he say when you decide to get married? Is he the one who tells you, come over, let's start?
Even before I had wanted to leave, he really took it very hard, in a hard way, and it traumatized him. I could tell he was really sad. I could even hear from his friends, his colleagues at work. Yeah.
He was sad about what?
About me leaving him. Yes.
Leaving him and going to the States?
Yes.
You know, in Luo, there is a phrase called to break a leg. Not the breaking a leg of English, the dancing one. Breaking a leg means
making someone pregnant.
Yeah.
As we call it, breaking the leg of a goat in Kikuyu.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Luo, they say that if you want the girl, break her legs.
Now, that is...
Do you think that guy broke your legs?
would we say that it's only he who can answer that?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You get married with a yellow paper bag and your mother's bag.
Yes.
Start a new life.
Which by then I've never returned, and I just saw it in my closet the other day.
Your stepmother.
Yeah.
Did she ask for it? She has never asked for it?
She's never.
Does she know that you're the one who took it? Maybe she doesn't know.
She does, because now later on I would have to come back home.
You start a new marriage. How does that look like?
It's very scary. It's all the fears that I've had coming true. It's now me seeing that my life is over. This is my new life. It's me asking myself, am I prepared to have this baby, when even I myself don't know whether I'm even capable of bringing myself up? Because I still felt very unprepared, still like a baby. I've just come from my dad's home to this man's home. I don't even know who I am.
Did you elope? Because I don't hear you talking about whether you talked with your parents.
I didn't. That means that I just pack my clothes and I leave.
My father doesn't look for you?
He does, and I change my phone.
You go MIA.
Yes, I go MIA and I disappear on everyone, but only one person knew where I was. That was my brother. He's 1 year younger than me, because I need somebody to know that at least I'm alive. I'm here, but I'm alive, but I'm away. And eventually they just figured it out, because after some months, the parents from my then husband had to go home and to report, like, hey, we have your daughter and this is happening. Yeah.
Okay. And then the baby is born?
The baby comes. By then we were struggling. Remember, this is a guy who is also coming from college, just starting his job. He's a young man. We have sleepless night trying to figure out, where do we get this money? How do we start a business? But thank God he was very hardworking. That I can give it to him. Very hardworking, very ambitious. And eventually our lives become better.
There's bread for everybody.
Yes, there's bread for everyone. Me, him, the family, we are good. We're in a good space. Yeah. But on the flip side, something else is happening. My world is starting to shatter, because where I thought I landed and I'm thinking, okay, things are becoming better, there's the aspect of he started being very violent, and I started just fearing for my life, and also wondering what happens. Where do I go from here? I cannot go back home. Clearly, I burnt all bridges over there. I'm trapped. I don't have any education apart from my Form 4 certificate. So where do I go from here? Yeah.
I saw my father battering my mother countless times. He was a drunkard. Oh, they said we should not call them drunkards. They said we should call them fucking ill.
What?
We said we should call them ill if they're not drunkards. But anyway. And for my father, I think he was battering my mother because he was, women in the village were like properties for the man. There was no difference between a wife and a sofa set. One of my belongings. You know, that's what I thought, because my father was the breadwinner. He worked as an accountant, brought food, everything, shelter, and my mother was just there feeding us and cooking for us. So, looking back, I think she was just one of his properties, and that is how women are regarded in most societies, at least. And that is why I've always had a problem with dowry, because dowry makes it look like that. That I am going, basically in Luoland, you go and pay. In fact, in Luoland, you don't even pay dowry until you guys have certified that this woman can give birth. That is why in Luoland, what they call it a year. A year means that I have agreed that I've taken your daughter, but I will come back to give you dowry. That coming back means that we are going to see if she's fertile.
Wow.
And then come back and now pay the dowry. Much later, when there are 2 kids, 3 kids, sometimes 1 kid. That's how it works. And that really projects the idea of a woman as a property of the man. So I saw my mother as a property of the man. My sister was also battered by the husband. In fact, she ran away to my elder sister several times. So that is what I think. So for my mother, I understood that my father was a drunk, and mostly he would beat her when he's drunk. I don't know why do you think the guy decided to be violent? Because he wasn't. When he was dating you at 18 years old, when you are still living at your mother's place, he wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
But then what do you think? How did this start?
Okay, here's the thing, like you've said, beer or maybe being under the influence, that's one reason among very many other. And here's the thing, because I was so madly in love with this guy, I had seen, like, he would sometimes come to me, and I remember he had this mark on the head, and I had asked him, so what happened here? And he told me, it was just a club fight, and we were involved in it, and somebody hit me with a broken glass of beer, a broken
glass of beer bottle.
Yeah, exactly. And they were fighting, and I thought to myself, I never thought twice about that. And like you've said, what happened to your mom, I can also say that my dad was also very violent, a violent person, and at some point I felt like I had married my dad, running from one problem only to end up in another one. And that is what mostly happens. It's a cycle. Either you decide to be, because of what's happened to you, you're never going to lay a hand on your wife, and suddenly enough you become a victim, or maybe like a victim as in you become involved with a woman who is very violent and all that, or you decide to become the abuser yourself. It happens in most cases because our idea of what a marriage should look like, we get it from our parents. An idea of how a man in my life should treat me and should value me and even should be like comes from what I saw from my dad. And even sometimes, though we say so much that I'm never going to be involved with a man who is violent, you subconsciously find yourself there. Like our subconscious normally accounts for like 90% of who we are. It's only the 10%. What does that mean? Sometimes even you're driving your car and you're going home. Your mind already knows where your home is. Sometimes you'll find yourself, you have disappeared, you're somewhere thinking about something, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm driving. Oh, and you didn't cause an accident and all that because it was your subconscious which had taken over. So sometimes it's so easy to say that we will not want this sort of life, but subconsciously have you kind of tuned your mind to stop, to unlearn some of those things that you picked up along the way and to actually pick up some healthy ways. That's the thing. So for me, I had seen it. And that's the thing about getting into a relationship when you're not ready, when any sort, whether you're 18, you're 20, you're 30, you still go on with the cycle. And that's even why now I became a relationship coach, a toxic relationship coach. Because I find that most women, even for me, it will be so easy for me to leave that man and end up with another man who is just like him. We say, same devil, different face. Because you have changed the situation currently, the physical one, but subconsciously, you're still drawn to the very same people. So I had seen the red lights, but I did not take them as the red flags. Being that he was very aggressive, not just to me, but towards even everybody else around. That's why he was getting into bar fights, club fights. I would have questioned myself. He used to fight a lot with the sister. He also has another mark of her. But I thought, okay, that's what kids do. Because you'll find that with kids, they will be just playing around, fighting around, it happens. But then, did I think that one day this will be turned against me? I did not. But I should have taken that, note of that, even back then. Yeah. Yeah.
How was what was his sort of aggression towards you? How did it manifest itself?
I remember the very first time very well because my daughter was very young, barely 6 months old. And we were watching TV. I don't even remember like the very same thing that led to this fight. I think it was a remote or something. But the next thing I knew, my daughter was just on the floor crying, and I was there. And he really beat me up that day. It was the first time. And he told me, of which had even threatened me before the baby came, that, you know what, when the baby comes, leave the baby with me, go where you want to go. And I did not know where am I supposed to go. I've said goodbye to my dad. I know he's very angry at me because he had really, the US thing was set. He had even sold one of his cars, which he used as for transport, which was bringing in money. So that's how he had been committed to me moving to study. So I felt very trapped. I had nowhere to go. He was the only thing. So if he tells me that leave the kid, what do I do? So I had decided, okay, I'm going to try and behave so that this never happens again. And the very first time I also thought, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm doing something that is triggering him to act in a certain sort of way. But here's the thing, somebody with a violent streak, it's not a personal thing. It's not about me. He has his own things that he's dealing with. And later on, I would come to know that his childhood had also not been spotless. He also had his own traumas. Yeah.
How does it go on from here? The aggressiveness and the violence.
It only gets worse with time. It gets worse by the second kid, the third kid, and by the second kid is where I'm now asking, really questioning myself, like, and by then things are very well. They're very good. I have nearly everything that every woman my age would want to have. I'm driving a very nice car, but then there's still other aspects of control. The aspect of trying to bribe my friends to tell him about me. There's the aspect of being tracked. I've been followed even by CIDs. Like, just really, it was control, a lot of control.
By this time, he's become a man of means.
Yeah, no, and that is the thing. Another thing, those traits, you hardly ever see them until they're put, maybe like it said, give a man money and you see his character, and take away man's money and see the wife's character towards the man. Yeah. That just amplified the whole thing. It was taken from level 1 to level 2, now where he has gadgets, where he's able to pay people. Yeah.
Well, why was it so important for you, that for him to track you, control you?
This is
what. Well, now that you've become a relationship coach, what is going on in such a person's head? Why does he need to control you? Because at this point, another man can say, "Why don't you just get another woman that you love and let this one go?" What is your obsession with controlling them? What have you learned about why some people do this to other people?
Just that, what you have said. It's an obsession. It's no longer about, let me love them and treat them right. It's about, they're my property. And that is what mostly, it's manipulation, it's control. That's all the aspect of a narcissist and a toxic person. And the thing about toxic people is that all narcissists are toxic people, but not all toxic people are narcissists. This means that there are some very abusive people out there who make the choice to just be abusive. They decide to just be this way. And maybe it's not just them. It can be fueled by something that they went through, maybe through their past, their traumatic, mostly who we are today, even our relationships, they're as a result of what we went through during our childhood. And there are people who decide, hey, I'm not going to live like this. This is the way I form myself, but I owe it to me and to the people around me to become better. And there are people who will say, this is who I am. Deal with it. So such people, they walk around trying to stomp on anyone else who is there and doesn't have the capacity to. Yeah, and the dynamics of abuse work in a way whereby one has the upper hand over the other. So we were in business together, so he's controlling all the money. I'm busy with the kids. So my life just rotated around my family, my kids, our work, which was our business back then. But now that will become the journey of where I will start now to start deciding I need slowly to give this thing another look. Yeah.
So by the third child, you are like, something is going on here, and I need to take matters in my own hands. How do you begin to realize that this thing is going to kill me? I need to leave it. At what point do you? But before you answer that, I also want to add another question. This is your friend, sort of. Even though they have become violent, they're still your friends. You still wake up to them. They still wake up. I feel like they still tell you stories, and you still talk. Can you actually sit such kind of a man down and say, what is it that, why have you started hating me? What do you want me to change? Can you be nicer towards me? Were you able to sit down with him and tell him this?
Yeah. Not once, not twice. We even did counseling, marriage counseling. I thought, and when we were told, like, try even doing things more together, like the things that he likes, and the things that I like, we do it separate or like together. And we did, but it felt like by the third session, it was out, because this is for me. I'm the one who is initiating this. It's not about the other person. And here's the thing. Change will only come from within. I always say you can either inspire the other person to change, but you can never change them. So once you have this conversation, and that's the thing about a toxic person, most of the time you'll have had this conversation with them. I will ask, I will try. And we'll be like, oh, it's because you're always talking back at me. And that's something that we women have. We are very good at talking, and you men are good at sometimes reacting. That was how he would put it. But then I'll be like, I don't go around triggering everyone. Why is it only just you? And then the other thing is, you already know that you're stronger than I am. So what makes you feel like you can just hit me? And where I felt like this was it is where I will be seeing on the TVs how women were being killed by their spouses. And honestly, just watching that, it always used to scream out to me, you're next, you're next. And not just me, I had people very close to me in my family tell me, this person is going to be your end. It's going to be the reason that you're gone. And I will look at my kids, because just like you, there's a lot of trauma to the kids. And I would ask myself, fine, I brought them into this world, but then why do I have to make them go through this? Because it's not their fight. They never chose this man to be their dad and me to be their mom. They just found themselves here. So the thing that at least I'm supposed to help them through is for their life to become better. This is what I went through also. I saw the fights, the arguments, and I did not enjoy them at all. And how I used to feel, like so scared that maybe I'd come home and find my mom dead or something like that. And that's the very same thing that my kids would tell me. And the other thing is, when you're going through this, you're never there even for your kids. Because I had moments where I just want to stay in bed, draw my curtains, and just stay in bed. They're also hurting, but am I there for them? I'm not even there for me. And I thought, this is not what I want. And it had started from the 5th year. Right after my son was born, that's when I was starting to feel like, no, I need an exit plan. How do I come with this? And I would ask myself, is there somebody that I can talk to who can tell me, hey, this is what we are going to do. We need to put this, do this. But then I had to learn it through my way. And that meant, first of all, is it putting my finances in order? I had to separate from him. Is it getting my own friends, because I needed a support system? I needed people who will not go telling him what my fears were, what I'm going through, everything about me. So I need a new system of friends. What else do I need? I needed to work on me. I need, first of all, to identify and to know what is it about me that is actually making me stick to this man. Yeah.
Okay, so the exit plan.
Mm-hmm.
how do you start planning it? I understand the fact that, but then again, I don't know if you're at liberty to say this, but then you're doing business together. And that is what I see a lot of people saying, that my money is tied with him. If I go out, I go on my own. How did you start now doing, trying to get your own money and trying to put your finances in order?
You start doing you. You have to let go of something. You have to sacrifice something. There'll always be a sacrifice. And that's the thing that most women are not willing to give up. You want to live this life, but then at the same time, this is what you want. You want the peace of mind, you want this, but then you still want to live under his wing. You have to let go of something. And the thing is, it's not even about letting go. It's the fear of, what if I let go and things go all the wrong things that could go actually happen. It's you going into it and actually thinking from mentally, emotionally, and in all other aspects, you decide this is going to work. Why? You're not just doing this for you. Maybe you have your kids, if not your kids, your friends, because they see, or your family, extended family. Somebody somewhere always notices even before you notice that you're actually in a very unhealthy kind of relationship. Yeah.
How do you tell him that I want to leave?
Not immediately. And that's the thing about us women. We leave even before we actually pack our bags and leave. You already know it in your head. This is the end goal. For me, it took me 5 years. 5 good years, still doing life with him, waking up next to him. And I actually had to pray. And I told God, show me. And that's another thing. Most women are praying, change this man for me. This time, I prayed that in the beginning. But then later on, I got to that point of, I'd like for you, your will be done. Just show me. Is he the one for me? And my friend said that my prayers get answered ASAP. And honestly, that's what the answer that I got.
That you need to bolt.
Yeah, he was not the one for me. And that is why, despite everyone, because there will be people who will be like, what's wrong with you? How can you walk out of such a marriage? You have everything. You're driving a good car. Your kids are going to a good school. You're living in a good house. What's wrong with you? You have to remember, first of all, it's inside you. And did you have a conversation with somebody who is more powerful than you? And what did he say?
That's what people say, that I would rather cry in a Land Rover, than be happy next to some shanty. Yes, on a bicycle. What do you tell these kind of people?
There's always a middle ground. You can be in an alley somewhere. Why do you have to be in a bicycle or a Range Rover? As long as you're in a car and you can work towards that. I feel like it's not always the extreme. You can always find the middle ground. You yourself, because you give so much, and that's the thing. When somebody else is hurting you, you've already given them your power. You cannot even think about any other thing. You're only thinking about them. Where are they? What are they talking to? What are they doing? Such things. But what if you took all this power from them and concentrated on you? Ask yourself, how can I get myself out of this? What do I really want? I normally say taking a heart sabbatical. That's dating yourself, knowing who you are. You even get to discover things that you did not know. Maybe you always thought that you're a morning person because you're used to waking up very early in the morning, or a night person. For me, I thought I was a night person because I would always be waking up most of the nights. But then I found myself that now I sleep very early and I can wake up very early. So discover who you are, because most of the things of who we are as a result of what people told us in the past, or just something somewhere, but it's not who you really are. Yeah.
Does it going out? How do you tell him, or you do the same thing that you did to your father?
No.
How does this begin to unravel?
No, you've learned better, and it just takes you hitting rock bottom to wake up and say, hey, I'm done, I'm out. Yeah, and actually sticking to it. Yeah.
So did you get a divorce? What happened? Did you go to court?
I was not legally married, because then that was the breaking point. He told me that you can only buy what fits you.
The man told you?
That was the breaking point for me, when somebody tells you that, because people
What did he mean by that?
It means that you're not what I want. And I asked, after 3 kids, yeah, so what are you doing there? Yeah. And what does that mean? It means that I have completely lost myself to the point that this person sees me as worthless. So you ask yourself, are you that worthless? Yeah. And that's the sad thing about most women who have been in these relationships which are very toxic. They come out having zero self-esteem. Confidence is knocked down because that's what an abusive person will try to take away from you. It's you thinking for yourself. Yeah, it's your confidence. Such that you don't even believe that whatever decision you make is the one that is right for you. Yeah.
Specifically, how do you move out? You take your things. Where do you go? What was the whole arrangement? Can you tell me what the entire arrangement around this was?
I did not know all the other steps. All I knew was one step, that I don't want to be here. And that is all that it takes. So when people say I'm stuck here because I don't have the money, I'm stuck here because I have kids, I always know that is an excuse. When someone has reached the rock bottom, it's not about what they have or what they think. It's about one choice. From there, everything else falls into place. I came out of that marriage and I moved. I was with the kids. I did not know how. By then, my last born daughter was around 3 or 4 months old. So that means that I had not even gone back to work. I was just starting something and that is another thing. It was a skill that I learned on YouTube. That is how I began my scented candles business. So here I am with a very new business, a young baby. And I told myself, you know what? You're going to do this. I got into coaching. I was working with coaches, with mentors. I had an accountability partner who would ask me, okay, you have these aspects of your life. Why are you at this aspect, this aspect, this aspect? I did not even have time to feel. I did not have time to lie around and cry. So that was my saving grace for me. And a few months from that time, I did not even know what coaching was. It was pointed out to me. I stumbled upon it. And within that year, less than a year into my separation, that's when I got into coaching. I got into a beauty pageant and actually won the title of Mrs. Universe Nairobi County. And I actually wrote my book within that first 1 year. And I could say that from there, it has just been just smooth sailing. I cannot say it's been smooth sailing. Nobody should ever lie to you about that. There's also a downhill to that. But let me say, I'm at a spot where I can say it's the best I've been in a while.
Yeah. How long since you left your marriage?
Now almost 2 years. Yeah, early next year will be second year. Yeah.
Men that you said are controlling. Some people also say that they don't let you go completely. How did yours? They didn't go looking for you. You just let you go, and that was it.
Obviously you can never totally let go because you have 3 kids. Now this is where co-parenting comes in, and that's the biggest challenge. Yeah.
How is it been for you?
Let's say we are moving on swiftly. Yeah.
He still sees his kid, takes care of them.
Yes.
Is financially available, emotionally available for the kids.
Let's say that's something that we are working on. Yeah, but I'm hoping we can get to that point. And all I can say is, provided I'm in a good space, because even raising the kids, it takes just one stable parent. And that's the thing that most people don't know. They think that a good home is where you have a mom and a dad. But it can be so toxic that it even ruins this kid more than the way it would be if it was just one parent.
So it's better for them to have a one parent if 2 parents is...
It's all about stability. How stable are you as a parent? How is the kids thrive on consistency? Do we do the very same thing here now every single time? Not when sometimes they'll sleep and then they're waking up to the bangings of the door. No, when sometimes we are good, tomorrow it's so cold, the house is so cold. Yeah.
And then you write a book, Unbound, the story of resilience against all odds. Jacinta Wangeshi, inspirational speaker and relationship coach. In this game-changing book by Jacinta Wangeshi, a relationship coach, tells the story of Jane Tumaini, in a struggle to rediscover herself after she finds herself trapped in a toxic relationship. As you read through this book, you will discover the power of rising up, resilience, courage, and inner strength against all odds. So perhaps you could tell me about the book. What is in this book?
The book is actually my story, as I tell it from my point of view, but in a fictional kind of way. Like I said, there's a lady called Jane Tumaini. Tumaini means hope in Swahili. So I think that's what I have always been, hopeful. And I feel like this is a second chance for me. So Jane Tumaini is talking about all the struggles that she went through. And this is a story for a woman out there who feels like they're in the same place where I used to be, in that relationship, and wondering, how can I exit? What can I do? Where do I even start? You're feeling totally stuck. So it's my story, but in a fictional kind of way. Yeah, and I tell it from my side because I've had people ask me, so what would your partner have to say about it? I say everyone has got their own side of the story. Even the kids, when it comes to growing up, I may have seen my dad as this very authoritative, scary, controlling guy, but he also was very wonderful and loving. And one of my siblings will be like, no, him is a no. So everyone has got their own side of the story, and I just wanted to share my side of the story as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Congratulations on the book. Writing a book is one of the most difficult things.
Thank you.
And writing all of it to the very... how do people find it? Do people love it?
Yeah, actually, I've received so many wonderful comments, and it's actually a sequel. So, okay, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's a sequel, so it keeps you wanting to see what happens to the next one. I know I've had people ask me, so when is the next one? When is the next one? Yeah, and it's available locally and even internationally because it's on Amazon.
I'm glad you are at a place where you feel safe, you feel wanted again, you feel like your life is on the upward trend again. Mm-hmm. But then there are people who are there right now.
Yeah.
Right about this second, we have lots of people who are in a toxic relationship. Mm-hmm. And you told me when we were talking that you only cater to the women that are in toxic relationships, and not men in toxic relationships. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult thing. I mean, I would understand that it's very difficult to know if a man is in a toxic relationship. Yeah. I mean, probably he'll know by himself, but he'll be like, I'm the man, I'm still in charge, but he's not in charge of anything. Yeah. To the, like, before we started, I said that toxicity is something that is tossed around a lot these days. Mm-hmm. And as somebody who has been in the internet since we started, a lot of women are talking about toxic relationships. Yeah. Even those ones that asked for fair and were not given fair are claiming that their men are suddenly toxic. Yeah. Let's go to the serious toxic things. What would you say is a toxic relationship? Yeah. How do you know that somebody comes to you and you say, this is definitely toxic? And there is toxic marriage and toxic relationship. Yeah. Which one are you into? Toxic marriage or toxic relationship as generally?
Just generally.
Generally.
Because a marriage is... a relationship will also be in the marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you define toxic relationship?
So a toxic relationship is, funny enough, like you've said, it's very underused and sometimes even overused. It's this relationship whereby most people think that it will just have physical violence or emotional violence. Sometimes it even accounts for the very little things that make you question yourself, sometimes your sanity. It's a place where you feel you cannot be yourself because probably anything you say can and will be used against you because you've had such sorts of relationship where you can say, hey, my friend is like this, and then later on you hear the person telling you, oh, you just like your friend, no wonder your friend is getting treated like this and this. So you decide, hey, okay, from now I will not be speaking out. When you say, oh, today I'm feeling like this, you're told, no, you shouldn't feel like that. Why are you feeling like that? Tables are turned against you. Every time you need to address something, you don't feel like you can even say it, because anything you say can and will be used against you. It's also in a sort of relationship where you feel like you're not appreciated enough. These are like, I'm talking about the things that are very subtle right now, not the big ambiguous things. You don't feel appreciated. You might feel like your partner no longer wants to spend time with you like they did before. It's the small things. And it can go to the big things like you're getting beaten up physically, pushed around. I know I've had some people say, oh, it's normal. It even comes down to you as a person. What do you consider to be toxic sometimes? It's even things like emotional abuse. When you're abused emotionally, it means that this person does not, first of all, value your input. They even try to make you doubt your sanity, whereby you even question yourself, am I good enough? Your self-confidence is down. It might come to financial abuse, and this happens a lot nowadays. I don't know why, where the man is the one who controls all the money in the house, sometimes leaving you with 100 bob, and they expect to find ugali with meat in the evening. But you get that.
That is for lawyers like this guy. But I'm 100 bob.
Yeah. You hear a woman saying that, I'm the only one who does everything in this house. I'm paying the bills. He's making money, but he's not giving you any, and you're in a relationship or a marriage. The place where about them giving you fear and all that, I don't think I can even get into that because that's a whole totally different dynamic. Yeah, but it's just, toxic is just that. Something that right now might not look very big or ambiguous. It might be big, but later on, it can even result to you dying, because people get anxiety attacks, they get depression, they have suicidal thoughts. You feel very hopeless in life. Yeah. Yes.
When somebody comes to you and crying out that I'm in this relationship that I feel is gonna kill me, what is the first step that you do? How do you start talking to them?
We get into a discovery call first. I need to hear the full story of what is going on, and they will tell me their story. And then first of all, I need to identify, can I really help you? Because being a coach, there's a disclaimer. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. So there are extreme cases that I have to refer them to specialists.
What is the difference between a coach and all these other things?
The coaching aspect is actually the DIY? Now the do it with you kind of part. I've walked through the journey before. I have some tips. I have actually had some lessons on it. But when it comes to things like medication, when it comes to things like suicide, those I cannot help. I refer it to the specialists who actually deal with the very complicated stuff. It's also advisable that if I'm working with you, you'll also be seeing a therapist as well.
What are some of the red flags in a toxic relationship?
Red flags?
Yeah.
Mostly how you feel. How does this person make you feel? Do you feel confident in that relationship? Do you feel heard? Do you feel loved? Do you feel validated? How are they? And it always goes down to you. And that's what I do mostly in my program. We get down to you. Because unless you know what you want, unless you know who you are, you never know even what you want. For me, I might value consistency more than somebody else. Because why? I know that inconsistent people are going to be triggering me. Because here's another thing. No one is perfect. Even for me, there's a fair share of how I contributed. And it's always two people who take a relationship to fail and two people who make it work. So even saying that the other person is toxic, I have my own fair share of being toxic. So I have to check myself. How have I been contributing to this? And there are things that even I might have carried. We normally call them survival tactics that you are using in that relationship. They were there to just help you survive, but then you adapt them as your behavior. You start shutting off maybe when you feel like you're going to get hurt, such things. You build a wall around you. You now need to check yourself. First of all, what do I want? What am I looking for? What is important to me? So that you don't owe it to change the other person. And normally say, don't get into a relationship with someone if you think that you will change them or the potential of who they could become. Be with someone who you already have seen their worst days, first of all. At the beginning of the honeymoon, where you're supposed to not be seeing the wrong thing. Ask the tough questions. See this thing for the reality of it before the butterflies go away. Yeah.
What would you say is, like, for example, before you get into a relationship, if you're that 18-year-old girl, what did you look for out in a relationship? How would you gauge the person that you want to be in a relationship? What are some of the questions that you'll ask them? Like, for example, right now, if a man is leading to your DM and said, you look amazing, how do you start, I'm not sure whether you are healed and you're ready to, are you in the market?
May I pledge the fifth on that?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The question still stands.
Yeah.
The question still stands. If a man were to approach you and want to be in a relationship with you, knowing what you've known, given your experience, how would you want to, check that this is a man that is not going to be violent to me? This is a man that is not going to be, you can't tell about tomorrow, but at least you can be rest assured that today what I see looks good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It will be about, first of all, at 18, I will tell any 18-year-old, don't rush. Because, especially for ladies, you're mentally mature enough to make decisions when you're 25. So, why are you running to? But if you have to look, first of all, I would look at things like, are you telling me hi, good morning, good evening? Because there's so many DMs that you see. Most people are there, they have things to say. Probably they are very nice people. But then you're not speaking. Hi isn't speaking. Go straight to the point. Be confident in yourself. But even as we talk, for me, there's what I look at. What do I value? And that's why I said it all comes down to you knowing yourself. For me, I value having conversations, meeting people up, rather than just DMing you and texting you back and forth. Because I will never get to know you. You need time to get to know a person. And even though at the start of it, everyone is spotless, the more time you spend with this person, getting to know them and intentionally knowing them, the more you really see and look at things. Don't look at the possibility of who they could be. And that's the mistake that most ladies do. We are looking at the potential. Oh, he looks like he's very hardworking. So that means in future, in the next 5 years, he's going to be a millionaire because I'm looking for a millionaire. Not to say that there's something wrong about that. But it comes down to, what do I want? And you seeing the person for who they are. So if this is who you are, then I ask myself, if you did not change, will I still take you for who you are right now? Yeah, without any alteration, without anything. But first of all, it has to be, how do you make me feel? Not even getting to know you for the feel of, I might get married to you, or how our future will be, because we get into that a lot. I meet you and then all I'm thinking about, we're going to have 3 more kids, we're going to live here and here. How do you make me feel, first of all? Do I enjoy spending time with you? Do I like talking to you? Sometimes you'll find that this person will be talking so much about themselves. Sometimes you'll find that this person is always talking about their ex. Sometimes just watch, sit down, observe, let the person be themselves, because they cannot pretend forever. Yeah.
How about in terms of reporting violence to the authorities? What do you usually tell the people that come to you? Maybe somebody says that this person has cut me with a knife, done this to me. Do you usually tell them to go to the police?
Yeah, there is, I think, I don't know whether it's 1195. It's a toll-free line where you can call, and then there are people who are always on the other end. Like, I think it's 24/7, because I have tried that line before. And they will even refer you to the nearest police, and they coordinate with them. You can also still keep records of this. But if somebody is already stabbing you, we don't even discuss that. What are you doing with them? Next thing is, there's something called reactive abuse. You might always be the one who is beating me up. And that was the thing that I thought about me in my case. It was either he kills me or one day I'm going to kill him. And you think about that, because reactive abuse also causes sometimes the victim to look like the abusive person. This person has always been beating you up, intimidating you, putting you down. Then one day you say, enough is enough. Today, I'm going to really show him who I am. And by bad luck, you end up stabbing him or killing him. What happens to you?
So then in tuko.co.ke, they will say that the woman is the one who has killed
Absolutely. The man. No one will ever hear your story. Nobody will ever care about how many times was beating you up. They will ask you, why didn't you leave? Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. How long are we? 1 hour?
Yes, 1 hour, 10 minutes.
1 hour, 10 minutes. So that's just about the place where we usually are. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how people get this book. Mm-hmm. Yes. How do people get this book so that they can be able to buy it and enjoy it?
It's on Nuria. Mm-hmm. It's an online bookshop in Kenya. It's also on Amazon. There are links. And also somebody can just DM me. On my Facebook links. I'm big on Facebook, not so much on the other things. YouTube is upcoming because some people have been telling me we would want to watch you because we feel like we connect more with you when we see you. So I have really thought about that. Yeah.
All right. So I want to thank you very much for coming to Dialogues with Jagero, telling your story. I like to think of my platform as a place where people can come and hold bold conversations and talk about themselves. And if they have a service, then they can be able to, say the things that they do. So lastly, what are your services exactly in terms of relationship coaching? What are the services that you give to people?
I have a coaching program, which is a 12-week coaching program. It's an online program, which is for women in relationships and even women who are out of relationships but looking to get into relationships again. We get to identify, but mostly it focuses on you. Like I've said, I'm high on, even before anybody else tells me, he does this to me, treats me like this, I'm always asking, so what are you ready to do about it? Because everything is always about you. Without things like proper boundaries, you'll never know. You'll hear somebody has said, he's cheated on me, he beats me up, he stays out, he doesn't even live at home with me. He goes out, comes back, and you'll be like, so what have you not put up with? It means you have zero boundaries. Just getting to know yourself, self-awareness. For me, that is always key. And that is what this program is all about. Before we even go into in-depth of what do healthy people look like? Because crazy as it sounds, most of us don't even know what a healthy man looks like. Because probably our notion or idea of what a man looks like, or even what a husband is like, is from what we got from our parents. And sometimes our parents are not even healthy individuals themselves. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for coming to Dialogues Jagero. And I wish you the best in your relationship with your kids, the relationships that are coming, and with your clients. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning to another episode with Dialogues with Jagero. Hoping that you enjoyed this episode. I would ask you that you may leave a comment. If you have one, if you have a question, you can always ask the question. If you want to contact Jacinta, you can always contact her. I think we will. Our Facebook link.
Yeah.
You should be able to leave a Facebook link down there on the description. And also, the thing about this platform is that it relies on you, people that watch, to make it bigger than I want it to be. So I would ask you that you may take your time to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, so that each and every time we have an episode, you will be notified. So thank you very much, and until another episode, bye for now.